everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Hi.
Hi.
Had a little bit of an energetic.
Well,
we had a little bit of an energetic pre-show. I'm trying to dial it back a little bit. I don't want to come in at a 13 when people are expecting a 7 or 8, you know.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to chill out a little bit because I'm liable to get worked up again. We have a fantastic guest, and we're talking about friendships, and you know how I feel about friendships. Friendships are the best, and they are warm pudding and hygge. And so I'm very excited about this. It's Caroline Maguire, but she's not. We have to do our little boilerplate intro first so people know where to find us. So I can already feel it. I can already feel it boiling up. Before we talk to Caroline, make sure you head over to TakeControlADHD.com to get to know us a little bit better. You can listen to the show right there on the website or subscribe to the mailing list. We would love to send you an email each time the new episode is released. Find us on all the socials at Take Control ADHD and jump into our Discord server at TakeControlADHD.com/Discord. That's where all of the coolest ADHD people are hanging out and chatting. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more, just a smidge, just a sniff more, and particularly if this show has ever touched you and the way you live with your ADHD in a new or different way, we invite you to support the show on Patreon. Patreon is our listener-supported podcasting partner. With a few dollars a month, you can help guarantee we continue to grow this show, add new features, and invest more heavily in our community. Patreon.com/The ADHD Podcast to learn more. Caroline Maguire has spent her career in the mechanics of human connection. She's a social emotional learning expert, an ADHD coach, a TEDx speaker, and the award-winning author of Why Will No One Play With Me?, a book that reshaped how we think about social skills for kids with ADHD. And now she's turned her lens on us, the adults, and her new book, Friendship Skills for Neurodivergent Adults. It's the guide so many of us have been waiting for. In fact, it was a year ago, as we record this, that Caroline was here on this show teasing the concepts that she has written in this book. The book comes out next month. Caroline, welcome back to the ADHD podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. You were someone I thought of a lot when I was writing this book, Pete. So I don't know what that says, but we've had many discussions. Thank you. I think that we've had so many discussions about friendship and rewriting the friendship map, and so I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have this conversation.
Well,
we're thrilled to have you.
Yeah. God, for sure. Let's dig in. If people are coming to you from Why Will No One Play With Me?, where you're helping address the needs of children and their social emotional skills, what inspired you to turn that lens toward adults with Friendship Skills for Neurodivergent Buddies?
So there was a couple things. When I was promoting Why Will No One Play With Me?, so many adults kept coming up to me and saying, like, this is all good, but I don't know how to make friends. So how can I help my kid? And then I helped Jessica McCabe with her book. And I co-wrote a chapter, How to People, with her. And we spent every Friday working on her book. And it was so much fun. And I just started developing tons of stuff. And then I just started turning my lens on it and really focused the past 3 years on clients who are adults so that I could hone this. And, everybody kept saying, we need this. And so I finally decided, like, we do need this. And like, I'm going to go for it. So it really was about the community and so many things that have happened since the pandemic. I feel like since the pandemic, the diagnostic rates have exploded and we have all kind of coalesced, I feel like, around a few ideas. And one of those ideas I feel like is we want more. We want friends. We want to unmask. We want to be ourselves. And so it really is the community that inspired me.
I have a feeling that that community is pretty natural. I mean, to us, particularly a year ago, when you start talking about these concepts, it seems so incredibly obvious because as soon as you're talking about kids with developing neurodivergent skill sets, you're talking about their parents who are discovering their own stickiness with this very topic. So I
Mm-hmm.
imagine it was a bit of a hand to glove kind of natural experience for you. But I would love to know what was your experience writing about these friendship dynamics that surprised you in the process?
I think what surprised me was I'm different than I was when I wrote Mile Alone Play With Me in 2017. And I think in all the best ways. And I think I really realized that the problem, like I had this sort of salient moment where I realized the problem with everything out there, to paint with a broad brush, because I buy all friendship books, right? And I read them,
Of course.
is that they all basically tell us to change and to change everything about ourselves. And they don't take into account the fact that we do friendship differently. And I think that was like one of the biggest things was I very early on said, I'm going to tell the reader that you don't have to change everything about yourself and that also you get to make choices. Like if it's too much for your social battery, maybe you don't want 100 friends, you want 2 or 3 friends. I feel like Carolyn in 2017 would have been afraid to kind of go like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to flip this all on its head. Whereas I feel like now I kind of realize that like we have to, that, because some of the publishers who didn't buy the book, and shame on them, were basically like, well, can't you people read the books about friendship that are already out there? And I was like, you people, that's like rude. And then I was like, well, no, because they don't take our neurology in mind. And it was like such a salient moment for me, right? Like I'm reading the email back and I'm like, and it just struck me like a lightning bolt. No, we can't, right? Like if we could have done that, we would have done that. Like, don't you think I wanted to conquer this problem in like the 4th grade? Like
Right.
you know what I mean? And then the second thing, Pete, was I feel like so many people still to this day feel like all of our friendship struggles are like a personal failing. And like I really started to be like, I have to help people see that it isn't, and we have to stop indicting ourselves and shaming ourselves. And it made me like really passionate about this because I was just like, gosh darn it is not a personal failing.
Mhm. But you're right. So many people take it as that. Like if somebody didn't respond to me or if I haven't heard from someone for a while, like there's this immediate I've done something wrong. They don't like me. I was too much, whatever it might be that's going through your head.
This is where the shoulds come out for me, right? Which is because I think we mentioned it on a recent episode too. I've been noodling a lot about Dunbar's number, right? This is the number that indicates Robin Dunbar came up with this number that says you should have 150 kind of acquaintances all the way down to 5 very, very close friends. And that's about all we can handle as human beings. And if you imagine a target, each concentric circle out gives you a little bit more in terms of the number of friends, but they're not as close to you. And I am curious your perspective after having written the book on how debunkable Dunbar's number ends up being, because for me, I have to give so much more forgiveness to myself for feeling very strongly about the friendships that I do have, even when they are out of sight, out of mind.
Right. I think things like Dunbar's number, I mean, I do think we have more acquaintances than we have close friends. And I have a tool called the Flavors of Friendship where I talk about here's all the levels of friendship, here's what to expect at those different levels, here's how you build trust with people. Don't give trust away. Trust is track record. I talk about all that, but I think all those numbers, all those different things, they're also based on typical people. So I almost feel like we all have to come up with our own number, right? And we have to know the research and know, like, hey, you do have more acquaintances than you do of close friends. But like maybe, Pete, you can only handle 3 close friends. You only want to socialize this much. Like, know what's going on. Know that it's hard if you don't respond to people. They don't know what's going on. You got to communicate about that and say, hey, I haven't responded to you just because it's hard for me. But like, I don't know that we can match to those numbers, right? Because those numbers are based on a social battery that I don't possess. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that, right, that kind of debunks it right away.
Do you think, we had a guest on not too long ago where he talked about being an introvert and having ADHD, and I'm definitely an introvert. And so it's interesting. Do you feel like if that is also added to the mix, that you're even going to have fewer friends? Because it does take a lot of energy to be in a social situation for longer than an hour.
Yeah, and I've been saying this lately. I kind of think the way we were taught to friend as kids, and I think that the way we were taught to friend as kids and sort of the popular assumptions about friendship that make people feel bad and make people feel shame were based on an extroverted model. And one of the reasons burnout happens or people are like, I don't want friends because my social battery gets run down and like we really struggle with this as a community is partly because people are trying to match those extroverted standards. You're an introvert, which means you need different things from friendship than, say, I do, right? You have a different social battery. And a lot of this is about like, does it fulfill your friendship cup? Like, do you feel fulfilled? And we have to check ourselves because sometimes we're cynical and we're scared of friendship and we're telling ourselves we're okay when really we're not. But I do think that introversion piece, I very much talk about this in the book because I think like that goes back to Pete shoulds,
Right.
right?
Right. For
Like,
sure.
I'm sure, Nikki, I'm just going to take a guess that when you were a kid, people were like, buck up and function like an extrovert. And you're
Right.
not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I get that even from my husband who's an extrovert, right? Because we'll go somewhere and he'll want to be there longer or I won't want to go at all. And I think after you turn 50, you just start to not care. And so now I'm just like, nope, you go and I'm hanging out at home and everything's fine. Doesn't mean anything is wrong with our relationship or that, but like I can pick and choose and not feel that should anymore. Because like small talk is the worst thing for me. Like I I would rather have a one-on-one deep conversation than doing the small talk at a party.
Yeah, and I know that from so many neurodivergent people too, though, Nikki. Like, I literally, the way I talk about small talk in the book is I'm like, listen, small talk is necessary for meeting people. I know you all hate it though, right? Like, I'm basically like, don't come for me because I'm going to tell you how to do small talk. Here's where you might need it. I'm providing this information to you, but like, please don't hate me because I know we hate it. And I don't really like small talk either. Like I see it more as an experiment, like I'm practicing my skills than I do as like an enjoyable thing. But and that's part of it too is like other people make you feel bad because your social battery gets run down, but like are you satisfied? Right? So that's part of this journey that I think I'm flipping on our head. I'm sort of saying, stop trying to meet that model that we were told as kids. Start trying to figure out what you really need. And then, like, here's the data. If you never show up, people do forget about you, right? People do get upset, right? So here's like, I'm very into like, know what's going on socially and navigating the social world, and then also make choices. And sometimes explain to people, right? Like, I've been telling this story a lot. Like, I met somebody who I knew from my baby groups, and I kind of reacquainted with her last summer, and we were having coffee every month, and I like her so much. And I basically in November, we were going to the conference, had to be like, so I will see you in May because I'm finishing editing a book. I'm going to this conference. And then like I have a book coming out and I won't have a morning to give up to go to coffee. But like, I want you to know that like when I fall off the radar, I really like our coffees and I'd really like to get to know you more. And I think that's part of it, right? Is to say, I call it a communication, like, hey, I am a person who forgets to text back. But like, don't take that personally instead of us feeling that should and that shame that Pete's talking about.
What I'm hearing is if you take control of the path forward in a relationship. You don't have to stress so much about rebuilding a broken relationship later.
Yeah, I love how you articulated that. That's so true. And P.S. though, I don't want you to have to rebuild a broken Nikki, right? I don't want Nikki to try to meet typical extroverted standards that aren't her social cup. And then she is talking to me in 6 months about how she did everything. And by the way, that to me lops into masking.
Right.
Doing everything everybody expects of you, even when it doesn't work for you, to me is part of the sort of masking umbrella where you're not just pretending you're someone else. You're also behaving in a way that meets everyone else's standards but doesn't help you to survive.
So we had this conversation with Dr. Sharon Celine about masking, and our community afterwards had a lot to talk about with it. And one of the things that I noticed in your book that is beautifully written, and I really, I hope that that group listens to this because I think you need to get this book ASAP so you can get the differences between what adapting is and what masking is. Can you just share us a little bit about what is the difference?
Yeah, I think, one of the two of the little criteria that I came up with is like, if you're suppressing your preferences and needs, that's masking, right? So I pretend I like chocolate ice cream because you like chocolate ice cream, or because I don't want to say this doesn't work for me. Like food allergies are a thing now, right? So people say all the time, like, I can't go to that restaurant or I can't go to whatever. But we as neurodivergent people often mask. We often say, "Oh, I'm going to pretend I'm not allergic to garlic, so I'm going to go to a Chinese food restaurant where everything has garlic and I can't even eat." Right? That to me is masking because you're suppressing your preferences and your needs.
Well, you're also sending a message that who you are is broken.
Who you are is broken, and you don't matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You don't matter. And some of this is suppressing those neurodivergent traits where, like a lot, this book is neurodivergent friendship. So our ADHD friends and our autistic friends are part of this. And, if you have sensory needs and I say, come to the Taylor Swift concert. Now, Taylor Swift people do not come for me. Okay. This is an example.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't go to the Taylor Swift concert because I don't do well with loud noises, right? But if you pretend you do and you just live in misery all night, right? Which I'm sorry, Taylor Swift fans, again, don't come for me. I understand you had a great time. My daughter, my husband had a great time. It's just not my scene.
Yeah.
That to me is masking. I think adapting is more reading the situation around you, thinking about not suppressing your needs in favor of others, but like, when do I hold back because someone else is having a bad day, right? I don't tell someone who's just become unemployed that like things are going great for me.
You're reading the room.
I'm
Mhm.
reading the room, and listen, sometimes you read the room and you make a choice and you say, I'm reading the room that you don't want me to say that I have a garlic allergy, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway, right? But I think adapting becomes this ability to think about your role, how you want to show up, and then you're adapting to the different situations versus I'm suppressing.
Caroline, you have in your book a really great diagram about the differences between adapting and masking. And what really touched me or really resonated with me is that adapting feels like a choice, where masking feels like you're powerless to make a choice. And I think that that's really key, right? Is that when I'm adapting, I'm making a choice to adapt to the other person. Like we're talking about, we're reading the room. I'm going to lower my energy because this person I can see is having a bad day, or opposite even because it's contagious, right? Somebody could be having a really good day and come into a conversation really excited. And now all of a sudden my energy's up because I'm mirroring them. But the masking is a great example of like the restaurant is I don't feel like I have a choice, going back to what you guys were saying before, because I'm broken and I don't matter and I shouldn't have a say about where we go to eat.
Exactly. It should feel like a choice and it should be so adapting is temporary, right? I'm adapting temporarily. Not my entire personality to you is different from who I really am, right? And I never express my needs and my preferences, you know,
And it stems from fear. You're saying
it
it
stems
stems
from
from
fear.
fear.
And it
Yeah, which
does.
is
It
huge.
does stem from fear because people, write me and DM me and they say, "Oh, this is nice, Caroline, but the fact is I won't have anybody." And so there's this fear that we have around if I say my needs and my preferences or I leave the party after an hour, right? I'm really coming in hard on that. Your husband's going to be like, "Caroline, go away." Right? But like,
No. He totally gets me. We've been married for 25 years. He gets it. He understands.
but like, that feels like that comes from fear. And if you stay 7 hours because you feel like you don't have a choice, that to me is masking. And by the way, okay, this is my message to everyone. Do you really want to be friends with people who, if you said, this has dire consequences to me? Like, if I had a gentleman told me a story where if he sits in the sun as an autistic man, like it has such effects on him, the sensory, the whatever, he just doesn't like to sit outside in the sun. It like literally gives him a headache. He feels terrible for the rest of the day. If someone doesn't care about that, they're not your friend.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
PSA, hot
Right.
take. They're
Yep.
not your friend.
Move on.
Move on.
But
so that's part of this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I throw in a but here only because I think part of the reason that this masking, adaptation, presentation skill set is so confusing is because many people in our sort of shared set of circumstances have been doing it so long they don't know what it means to do anything different. It feels
Absolutely.
like normal. It feels like masking. What's that? I call it Monday.
Right. Well, Pete, I tell my unmasking story in this book, right? And I really was very like, I was going around while I was writing this book at first and was like, masking is so important and it's such a journey. And my clients take years to unmask. And I'm going to talk about it, but I don't mask. And my friends were like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh,
right?
you
And
got
I was
called
kinda
out?
I got called out. And Ned called
Wow.
me out. Ned was like, "You have a mask. Your mask is I'm got it all together and you don't ask for help." And I was like, "Oh, wow. When Ned Hollowell tells you you
Oh
have
my
a mask,
God.
it's time to
Oh
take
my
a
You
good
God.
look."
need to listen. Yeah.
Caroline,
But-
geez, that's
but
going
that
on
was-
your headstone. Ned told me I was masking. Rest in peace.
But like Ned is part of how I unraveled that persona, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he said to me, like, even before, he had called me on that and made the joke, but years ago, when I was having trouble with my book team and I was having some struggles in my professional life, and I went to him unmasked, unadulterated, and said, "I'm in trouble here." And I tell the story in the book, and I didn't send him curated emails like I normally do. He basically said to me, "Isn't this better?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
So, I think we all wear different masks and there's safety issues. Sometimes you have to wear a mask. And we can mask for short periods of time. But I think it is like Tuesday, like, "Oh, I didn't even realize this." And then I want to say this to everyone, unraveling this, it takes a lot of time. So I don't want people to feel like, "Oh, I'm supposed to listen to a podcast and at the end of the podcast, I should be unmasked." That's completely, to me, unrealistic. And again, going back to the shoulds,
Right. Right.
you unmask at the pace you unmask. And I walk you through how to do that. But I also say, you're doing that might begin with just you reading this chapter. And that
Mhm.
might be the most you feel you can do at this time.
What are the other things in the book that you feel are important? I mean, obviously, like, everything in the book is important, and I've only seen it for like 5 minutes, you guys, and I love it already. It's wonderful. What are some takeaways for our audience today, that maybe you could share a chapter or a method or something that just can kind of help that you see, maybe as a more common challenge, maybe that you've heard from clients, something like that?
I think
Oh.
one of the go ahead.
Pete,
Well,
do you have
I
your
know
hand
you
up?
asked an open-ended question, but I actually have a request. I feel like I'm calling a
good.
DJ. I have a request. I, too, have only had the book for about 5 minutes, but I am looking at the impulsivity chapter, right? The in terms of our relationship series tie-in, I think this framing that for neurodivergent people, meeting someone who sees you releases a hit of dopamine that we can rush in too fast, and I mean, especially coming off of this masking topic, what does that mean for building new relationships and cultivating and encouraging them to be rich and to grow when we deal with impulsivity like that?
So I would actually say this is an important thing, Nikki. So I'm
Yeah.
answering both questions.
Great.
The impulsive friendship cycle is something I talk about. And by the way, everyone, totally owning my stuff, I resemble this remark. I was the queen of impulsive friendships. And I think it was the time that I realized I was becoming friends with someone who was like a racist and like whatever is, that I was like, I gotta stop this cycle because I'm now trapped with people who I would never even talk to.
Right.
So it's this idea that, like, look, our brain is under aroused. So we're seeking stimulation. And there's nothing better than falling in love. And friendship is very much like falling in love. And when we are meeting people, it's very easy to get very caught up in them and to get a kind of hyper focus. And even introverts and attentives may be thinking, oh, I don't do this, but I got to call you out and say you do. Right.
Mhm.
It looks different. Like I'm literally running through the fauna toward the friend and it's big actions and you can see it from a mile away. But I do see this with all my clients. I see this with my autistic clients too, where we're so excited. It is exciting. And we don't stop to look at, is this person really a fit for me? And I don't mean fitting in. I mean, like, are they my people? And because we're so used to masking, I think there's a degree where we're like, oh, hey, someone likes me. Let me bend myself into a pretzel to be who they want me to be. And so I do think this is one of the most important things, which is stop calling everyone who's an acquaintance a friend, because then you expect things from them that you imbue them with the characteristics of friendship when they haven't earned it.
But acquaintance seems so cold. What do you
What
call
about
them?
emerging friend?
Oh, emerging friend.
Right? They're like a buddy, they're an emerging friend. You're hoping, it's kind of like your fourth date. You're hoping this will stretch to 5 dates, 6 dates, 7 dates. You hope someday your husband is saying what my husband says to me. Why are you so great once you get there, but you complain every minute till we get to an event, right? You're Nikki who wants to leave after an hour. You're hoping you get to have that. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think we rush into friendships. We take too little. And I'm really asking us to look at that and say, who are your people? I'm walking you through looking at that. Like, here's my latest example. If you are trying to date, like my clients who are trying to date spend like hours on like Hinge profiles,
Mhm.
but they spend like 2 minutes thinking about, who are my people? Who do I want to be friends? What are my values? What do I need out of someone? And what are red flags? Like when they
Mhm.
don't care that you have a garlic allergy and they're asking you to eat at a Chinese food restaurant, like red flag.
All of this strikes me because you're talking to me personally. I think I'm somebody who overextends the word friend, and maybe being a little bit more precious about it will help to refine or focus the relationships that really are friendship relationships. And that's a hard pill to swallow, I think.
I'm sorry, Pete. I
It's
don't mean to
okay. I
make you
mean,
swallow that
this
pill
is
on
what
your
this
own
show
podcast.
it's what this show is all about, is give Pete
Yeah.
something hard to think about.
Well, but also let me just say this. I don't think it's just that. I think it's this. Don't give to them at the level of a friend yet. So we give to people and then we say, oh, people take from me, right? And part of it is also then if someone says I can't have coffee, if we've imbued them with the qualities of a friend, it pushes that rejection sensitivity button because now I feel rejected. But you aren't rejected, right? You're rejected as if you're, if God forbid something's happening in your family and you call a real true bosom close friend, of which you've told us you think there's 5, I think there's 3, right? In your
Yeah, right.
lifetime. You you are you should expect that, right? Like something's happening with my family, I need to talk to, I need support. But if I expect that from an acquaintance and then they don't give it to me, I feel rejected, but that's lopsided, right? They aren't really my friend. So it's more than just it's more than just what I'm making Pete think about. It's also so that you don't feel rejected because you're not really being rejected.
You're balancing an equation, right? It's everything comes back to algebra, right? I mean, everybody knows this.
I
You just
did
have
do
to balance the
algebra,
equation,
Pete.
right? Well, you're doing algebra right now, right? The whole issue, I think and I think you just described it so perfectly, right? We give, and then when they don't give back, we say they're taking. But the truth is we gave too much before we got to see if they were willing to give back. And that's what makes the friendship, is when you get to be a giver and a receiver.
Yes.
And that is, I can't believe I'm saying this in my 50s, but that's a new way for me to think about these kinds of social relationships. And I can start ticking them off in my head right now. And we say this is the common thread for adults, right? Is like, oh, as an adult, it's so hard to make friends. Well, for a lot of reasons, not the smallest of which is we're so impulsive about the potential for new friendships that we meet in moms groups, on the, kids' athletic fields, whatever, that maybe we overstate too early the role of that relationship in our lives.
I think we do. And I think there's a couple other things in the book that are important. One, I have an ice cream scoop method, and I don't mean for everything to be about ice cream. That's like a theme. I don't know. Maybe I need
Do you like ice cream?
I
Yeah.
do like ice
It's an ice cream day.
I have a method for sharing. And basically it goes back to what you're saying, Pete. It's like I give you a scoop and then I see, what do you do? And then if you do something positive, then I give you another scoop. I don't give you the whole ice cream at once, right? And that's because trust is track record. And I think we don't think about enough. And as a person who rushed into friendships for 40 years, I have to tell you, like, that's 100% true. I have lived it, right?
It's so good. The metaphor is so disgusting. Like,
know, but
my
it's like,
friendships,
it feels-
I am just throwing scoops of ice cream at your face and
You're like,
waiting
"Here's a
to see
gallon.
what you do.
Here's a gallon of ice cream. Now will you give me even a cherry back? No.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
This is why I love you guys. We have so much fun. And then the other thing is I have a troubleshooting thing. So many people, I even had texts from clients this week who are like, investing in people and then, feeling burned and all this. And I get it. And it's so hard. But I have a troubleshooting chapter where I'm like, okay, before you say that, like, I have invested for months and they've given me not a single scoop of ice cream and, like, I am just distraught, go through and sort of check, like, was it actually a friendship? Did you actually do stuff to see them, or were you, and I resemble this, like, alone on your couch thinking that you're building a relationship? That's not building, right? And so I think I think that's important, because I think one of the things we also do is we don't do great with self-reflection. And I'm, like, right there with everybody else to sort of pause and go, wait, I've given them the entire tub of ice cream. Have they given me anything back? And and when things fall apart, like, also to sort of say, is it really fallen apart, or is this a snafu?
Which we go straight to, it's falling apart and
It's
it's the worst
over.
case scenario.
The ice cream is
Yeah,
melted.
right.
The
Yeah,
ice
it's
cream
all
is
melted and
gone.
the truck is gone.
Yeah.
From the planet, the ice cream is gone. You'll never have ice cream again.
That's
Right? Like,
right.
no,
That's
but I
right.
mean, that's
But
what
it's
we
how it
do.
feels.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
how
for
it
sure.
feels. And I am right there with you. I've been right there with you. But I want people to sort of, I have exercises like to check that, because I think so often, look, friendship is harder for us. I'm not going to lie about that. But I also think there are these ways where our mind plays tricks on us, or where our mindset makes us feel way worse. And having that sort of pause and having that self reflection And sometimes when you reflect, you're like, this friendship is lopsided, and that stinks. And then go eat some ice cream because you'll feel better.
Right.
Right.
Right. Not metaphorical ice cream. I mean,
Not
go
the
get
real
some
ice
mint
cream,
chip,
real ice
right?
cream.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting when you say it's lopsided though, because I think of some of my friendships in the past, and some of them have definitely been like seasonal, right? Like when you talk about the kids' sports and things like that, like they're seasonal friendships, acquaintances, maybe some of them do end up being good friends. But it is interesting when you talk about the lopsided, because if you look, you'll see the red flags if you're aware, right? But if you're not paying attention, then it can really go past you pretty quickly. And then you get disappointed. And I remember I had a friend who told me something about, I had another friend whose mother had passed, and I was going up to go to the funeral and be with my friend and, be with her in that moment. And then this other friend said something really strange to me about, well, I don't know if I would tell you if my mother passed. And I just thought it was so strange.
And kind of mean. I'm kind of mad at them now.
I know. I'm like, you wouldn't tell me that you were going through something like that? Like, it really was an eye opener of, this is a lopsided friendship,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I would have immediately gone to her, and she did not see me in that light. And she also didn't see me in the light to celebrate one of her big birthdays either.
Okay, I'm
Which
furious
was
with
weird.
her right now.
Yeah,
Furious with her.
yeah.
I need her phone number and her
I
name,
know.
and I'm going to hunt her down. But no, but see, this is the thing too, Nikki. I want everyone to hear me so that they don't think I just joke around. That is the hardest moment, and I've been there, and I've had those moments. I've had moments where someone doesn't invite you, and you're like, wait, I thought we were friends. We've all had those moments, and I want to say, that is so hard. And that's why some people are cynical about friendship or are cynical about this whole topic. But if I have a whole section on relationship repair and also lopsided friendships. If you read that section and it strikes you, I know that that's a painful day. But I just will say that as a person who has been through all this, I would rather know, right? And there's a whole chapter on how do you know if someone is a friend and if they'll be a good friend. And I just want to say, like, that's why I think Pete's thing about online friendships that we've talked about in the past is key. Like, if I know that I have some people who are there for me and where we have that relationship, even if it's, online and I'd prefer in person, and even if I don't get to see them every day, then I'm more empowered to hear that horrible thing that a woman said to you, which, by the way, I don't think anyone needs to say that out loud. Just PS, hot take, like, that was
Weird.
kind of mean.
Maybe try a little masking of the other
Right,
person.
like, they asked a little bit. But, like, then you feel less scared, right? And you feel less alone, but it is so hard, and it's hard also when you invest and you like someone and they don't reciprocate, but I think we take that as, that's all about me, and one of the messages I wanna get across is, like, that could be what look at what I did to this poor woman who started having coffee with me. I'm basically like, "I'm gonna see you after from November to May because 'cause I'm launching a book and I'm getting my daughter into college." And luckily, she was like, "Cool beans." Like,
Right? Because that's a good friend, because, like, they wanna support you. Like, "Yeah, good luck. I hope everything goes well. Like, I'll catch you in May. I can't wait to hear about it." Like, because they're not gonna take that in a bad way. They're gonna appreciate that you're being honest, and, you'll reconnect when it's the right time.
and I think also that's the other thing. I do think it's too bad that not everybody could take the Caroline Maguire course of etiquette and, like, say stuff, right? I wish typical people would say stuff like that isn't cruel and unkind, like, "This person I'm gonna hunt down for you," and is more like, "Hey, just FYI, like, my mother's in the hospital and I'm really overwhelmed and this isn't about you and whatever, and I know you've asked me to go to hot yoga a million times and I don't mean to not go," but they don't always.
Right. Right.
Like, I wish they did, and I advise in the book, saying this stuff. And I know some crowds will say, well, we're tired of always having to explain ourselves as neurodivergent people. I'm not coming from that perspective. I'm coming from a much more logistical human perspective that if you do sometimes disappear and you don't tell people, then they just assume you're not interested in them. So I think it's better to say, in my Keeping Up with People chapter, I'm like, tell people that it's hard for you to keep up with them. Like, tell them this is a thing so that they don't write you off, you know?
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so good. We could talk to you for so long.
Oh, for sure. I know you have this book, but this new course, the Caroline Maguire School of Etiquette, when you start
When is that
enrolling for
coming out?
that, yeah, it's a very short course. It's just say stuff. When
And
you
be
don't
like
say
human.
stuff, please
And be
say
like
it.
human.
Yeah.
And don't say what that
Yeah.
person said to Nikki. I have
Right.
many people that I wish, like, my husband's always like, you would have to have so much money to do this. You'd have to be like 100 millionaire that you could just go around like doing like an Avenger. But I do have things where I wish I could go to people and be like, that was rude. And you didn't need to say that, you know?
Well, it's
And
like
what's
that.
interesting is she probably doesn't even remember saying it, but
Oh,
yet,
of course.
boy,
Nope.
do I ever remember it.
Yeah.
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 You know, they call it, the French call it escalator humor, right? Where you come up with this great retort when you're on the escalator down away from the engagement.
In my
right?
car,
This
I'm
is
like, oh, I
yeah,
should have said this. And I never say, that was always my problem being bullied.
yeah.
People would say stuff and I had no response back. Because I don't have zingers. Like, I'm not good at that.
Yeah. And so this is a practice. It's the Caroline Maguire School of Escalator Vengeance, right? You'll come up with it eventually. Caroline, the book, I feel so lucky that we actually have the book, even though short time. As preview readers, I am very excited to read it and in depth. Tell us about it. When can people get it? Where will it be? Where do you want people to go learn about it, sign up, pre-order, etc.?
I would love people to pre-order it. It's anywhere books are sold. It's available April 14th. I'm actually doing a ton that I'll be posting on Instagram, which is author Caroline M, about like pre-sale bonuses. I have book bonuses. So if you buy the book, you hit a QR code and I have like a journal and exercises that couldn't fit in the book because I had to cut 60,000 words from the book because it was too long because there's a lot to say. I didn't give you 60,000 words in the book bonus. Don't worry about that. And then I'm doing a bunch of like, webinars and sort of you get to talk to Caroline and ask Caroline, like, how do I, figure out if my friendships are lopsided? So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll hear about that. And then go pre-order the book so you can get free stuff wherever books are sold. And it's available April 14th. I'm so excited for April 14th. Like, it's going to be like a palooza of things.
That's awesome. Oh, so happy for you to be getting this one out to breathe in the open air. It's so wonderful. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for doing this on short notice. So glad we could fit you in and that you had an opening. We're just very, very lucky. And
I'm lucky.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're thrilled to be able to have you and can't wait to do it again. And we appreciate all of you for downloading and listening to the show. Thank you for your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the show, we are heading over to the Show Talk channel in our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. On behalf of Caroline Maguire and Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.